Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Shri Shailabhijanamburashanam Sri Krishna Tatatmajam Sri Shailanve Devanath Surya Praptagamanta Dvayam Padabje Narsimha Tate Guroho Nyastatma Rakshabharam Vidvat Vrinda Chakora Chandiramaham Ramanujaryam Shraye Sriranga Sudha Madhu Samaswadayantam Sriranga Mahishi Padapankajatmajam Sulabhashrayam Sada Moda Siddham Adbhutam Bhajeham Gurum Tam Ranganatha Priyam Sukhasanastham Hridayabja Pithe Chinmudraya Lankrita Pani Padmam Shubho Pavitam Vimalordhva Pundram Namami Rangam Guru Mantarange Namami Yoga Samrajni Vijayam Vijayapradam Srirangardha Sanasinam Karunam Mamamataram Gururupa Paranjyoti Jyoti Rupa Guru Paraha Ajnana Mandiram Hyetate Guru Vijnana Mandiram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Girim Yatkrupa Tamaham Vande Narayana Paramananda Madhavam Yontah Pravishya Mama Vachamimam Prasuttam Sanjeevayatyakhila Shaktidhara Sudhamna Krishna Anyam Sahasracharana Shravanatvagadine Pranam Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Etyashrita Santrasa Dhvanta Vidvam Sanodayaha Prabhavan Sitaya Devya Paramavyoma Bhaskaraha Sakrideva Prapannaya Tavasmiti Chayachate Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyaha Tadamyetad Vratam Mama Manojavam Marutatulya Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtam Vatatmajam Vanarayutha Mukyam Sri Ramadutam Sirasa Namami Veda Vedya Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharatatmaje Veda Prache Tasadasite Sakshat Ramayanatmana Krishna. Salutations to our Guru and the Guru of all Gurus. We'll commence our session today. In the previous session, we had seen the glory of Sundara Kandam and why does it derive its name, or what is the interpretation of Sundaram in Sundara Kandam, why is it called Sundara Kandam, of which we saw many different perspectives given by our Purvacharyas. And just as a sequel, there was one place where we mentioned Acharya Vedanta Deshika. He speaks about Lord Hanuman in the form of an Acharya, in the form of a Guru. And there is one slokam, we'll just elaborate that and then we'll commence. Darpodagra dashendriyanana mano naktam charadhisthite dehesmin bhavasindhuna parigate dinam dasham prapitaha adyatve hanumat samena guruna prakyapatartha swayam lanka ruddha videha rajatanaya nyayena lalapyate. This particular slokam is from a great work called Sankalpa Suryodayam. Just like we have Viveka Chudamani as the Grantha of Adi Shankara, its corresponding sequel, which is along the lines of Visishtadvaita Matam, is Sankalpa Suryodayam. Viveka Chudamani is based on Advaitam. And what Acharya Vedanta Deshika does is he caricatures the various tattvas in our body, including all the way up to the Jivatman, as different characters or players or artists. And eventually the goal of this particular work is that may the Lord, take a sankalpa or a pledge that he will save us. He will protect the Jivan on the one hand, and on the other hand, it's a Suryodaya for the Jiva. It's a sunrise for the Jiva when the aspect of Vivekam dawns. And the Vivekam is essentially the fact that the Jivatman is an eternal Sesha Bhutan of the Paramatman. He is eternal servant of the Supreme Being. May that Vivekam dawn. So that's the goal of Sankalpa Suryodayam as an Natakam. And this particular slokam is in the first chapter and 71st sloka, where in that chapter he extols the Purvacharyas and the need for a guru for us to cross over this ocean of samsara. And here, Acharya Vedanta Deshika, he takes the example of Hanuman. He takes the form of an Acharyan. How Darpaha, that is Udagra Indriya Anana Manaha. See, the fact that Dashanana is one who has 10 heads is Ravana, and it is basically representative of the fact that there are 10 Indriyas, Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas, whose job is to poison our mind, Naktam Charadhishtite. Their nature is to take us away from the reality of life, the truth of life. Dehesmin Bhava Sindhuna Parigate Dinam Dasham Prapitaha. Having been drained of all our energies by such poison, right? It is important for the Jivan to look for some recourse. First of all, it should understand that we are partaking poison. If we treat poison as Amritam, then there is no point, isn't it? The dawn of the fact that we are in a Dina Dashai, that itself is Vivekam, right? Without that, we will not be in a position to seek a Guru. So that is where the grace of the Lord comes, actually. The turning point is when we realize that we are partaking of poison and not relishing a life full of Amritam. Once that Dina Dashai comes, what happens? Adhyatve Hanumat Samena Guruna Prakhyapatartha Swayam. Then instantly a Guru will appear to you, just like Hanuman appeared to Sita Mata. So he is actually, in some sense, of course, Sita Mata is none other than the Divine Lord himself. She is Paramatma Swarupi. However, as we all know, that while there are eternal truths, the moment they take the form of a human being, they go through the emotions of all of us, isn't it? Then there is no point in having something known as Dharma Shastra. If we are eternally in the state of the Atman, there is no need for Dharma Shastra. So therefore, whenever we listen to Puranas or Itihasas, what should be our state of mind? Our state of mind should be in such a manner that we dip into that honey pot and partake of the Amritam there, right? So that's very important. So in this context, he's saying, Hanumat Samena Guruna. So what is the greatness about Hanuman? So in Sundara Kandam, we will see that there are so many obstacles that he overcomes, and his main goal all the way up to the chapter where he sees Sita Mata, right? His Hridayam, that labdab of his Hridayam is always looking for where is Sita Mata, where is Sita Mata. That is the nature of an Acharya. A true Acharya, he will always think of the goodness of his Sishya. Right? It used to be like this several centuries ago. It is rare to find such true Acharyas. At the same time, a Sishya in the form of Sita Mata, who is in a very Deenamana avasthai. She is in a Deenam Dasham Prapita. She has no recourse. She is waiting. Ha Rama, Ha Lakshmana. We'll see that later on. She is crying, weeping to figure out where is that Supreme Lord with whom I was ever attached. As Jivatmas, we should remember that at one point of time, we were in the divine lap of the Lord himself. Due to various karma, various punya and papa that we commit over several janmas, we take different forms. And it's important to note that while the flow is the Lord's wish, the flow of life is the Lord's wish. However, at some point, the Jivan should remember that I should go back to my original home. That is the Dina Dashai. And once you get to that Dashai, you will actually get an Acharyan who has these qualities. Mathematics, if and only if, necessary and sufficient condition. Right? If you get into that Dina Avasthai, that is, you are desirous of seeking the Lord, right? All the time, 24/7, Sita Mata will be crying. That is the part of Sundara Kandam actually. If you are in that state, you will definitely get a guru who is also 24/7 thinking about you. Seriya? இப்ப குருவே இல்லை அப்படின்னாக்கா நீ அப்படி இருக்கியா அப்படின்னு క్వశ్చన్ பண்ணிக்கணும். உனக்கு அது வேணுமா? మీకు అది కావాలంటే మీకు తక్కిన గురువు చిక్తారు. అది లేదంటే దొరకరు. రెండు కావాలి. రైట్? బోత్ సైడ్స్ ఆఫ్ ది కాయిన్ need to exist. Lankaruddha Videharajatanaya Nyayena Lalapyate. This is the Nyayam or the logic that we can see here, that if you get into that state of Dina Avasthai, then you will get an Acharyan. And the Acharyan, what does he do? He will take you to the real Swarupam, true Swarupam, and he will take us closer to Paramatman. So this eternal truth is actually a Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Therefore, it is called Sundarakandam. Okay. So this is one of the reasons. Of course, those of you who missed the last session may go through the video. So there are 12 reasons that we gave. And this was one of them as to why it is called Sundarakandam. Finally, you were mentioning that Sundaram is the name of the divine Lord. Therefore, there are chapters in Sundarakandam that describe the beauty of the Lord, how handsome he is, etc. So many people will immediately get the thing here. Okay, is it gender biased? No. There is one more reason. Sundaram is actually referring to Sita Mata also. Her beauty is also described in Sundarakandam. Okay. Manninum Nallal, Malar Mahal, Kalai Mahal, Kalai Ur Penninum Nallal, Perumpugai Janaki, Kamparamayanatla is in the particular line or the Kandanan, Karpinu Kaniyai Kangalal Endrum, Virperu Tadandol Vira, Vinginir Ilangai Verpal, Abdin Pogum. So there description of the real beauty of Sita Mata also comes in Sundarakandam. Now, beauty is of two types. One which represents external beauty, right? And we should always remember that when an Avatara Purusha comes, there is an equal proportion of external and internal beauty. That is only reserved for them. The Sundaram abdinaka, there are so many lakshanas of how a person, ideal person, looks like, or how there is a Samudrika Lakshanam. There is a Shastram which talks about how proportionate should the body be. So when an Avatara Purusha lands on earth, they will exactly, fall in line with those descriptions. Avatara Purusha, Avatara Prakriti, Sita Mata. So there is an external beauty that is described. At the same time, there is an internal beauty. What is the meaning of internal beauty? It is essentially the fact that our mind can get perturbed. It is of the nature of perturbation only, isn't it? And it is important for it to get in line or get in a state of samasthiti or balance. That balance is known as Sheelam, Sheela Gunam. And that is the very nature of Sita Mata. Sita means purity, white, that which is supreme white is Sita Mata. And the purity of her heart is reverberating throughout Sundara Kandam, because it describes this kind of an extreme beauty, which is both internal and external. There are places where Hanuman actually describes her external beauty also. Of course, it is through Valmiki Maharshi. Let us not forget him. Okay. And it will really get into a state where we will start experiencing those aspects of beauty. That's why it is called Sundara Kandam. Therefore, there is a famous sloka by Tilak. Sundare, Sundari Lanka, Sundare, Sundari Katha, Sundare, Sundari Sita, Sundare, Kimna Sundaram, Sundare, Sundarim Sitam, Akshatam Marutehe Mukhate, Shutva Hrashtaha Tathaivastu, Sa Ramaha Satatam Hridi. This is a shloka by Tilak. He essentially says that what is not beauty in Sundarakandam? Sundare Sundari Lanka. He starts with that. The Lanka, before our hero destroys the place, it was actually a beautiful place. You should remember that even in these days, who has a beautiful house or a wonderful house? Those who have dhanam, dabbu evari daggara undo vallaki manchi illu kattukuntaru. And in those days, Ravana, he had all the resources, moodu lokallo andarni pattukoni, he caught hold of Vishwakarma and made him build his Lanka, isn't it? Everybody was at his beck and call. And obviously, he built a place which was so beautiful that, only the occupants were of the wrong category, excepting Vibhishana and his family. But that is the beauty of Lanka, which we will see in Sundarakanda. Sundare, Sundari, Katha. The story itself is Sundaram, right? It talks about the fact that we should get over obstacles and eventually achieve our objective. Sundare, Sundari, Sita. Sita Mata is Sundari. Sundare Kimna Sundaram. What is not beautiful in Sundarakandam? Sundare, Sundarim Sitam. Akshatam Marutehe Mukhate. Akshatam means the different, words or descriptions that we actually hear are through Hanuman's mouth itself. That's what it means. He himself describes, his mind. He speaks out his mind. Shrutva Hrishtaha Tathai Vastu. May we be happy listening to those descriptions of Lord Hanuman himself. Saramaha Satatam Hridi. May Lord Rama reside in my heart ever after. This is what Tilak ji says, right? So therefore, there are indeed too many reasons why it is called as Sundarakandam. With all the devotion in our heart, may we really start Sundarakandam right now. Okay. Jai Bolo Hanuman ki Jai. Jai Shri Ram. Om. Tato Ravana Nitayaha Sitaya Satrukarshanaha Yesha Padamanveshtum Charana Charite Pati. This is the very first shloka of Sundara Kandam. Tato Ravana Nitayaha. You can all chant after me while being on mute. Sitaya Shatrukarshanaha. You can chant.
Sitaya Shatrukarshanaha.
Yesha Padamanveshtum.
Yesha Padamanveshtum.
Charana Charite Pati.
Charanam Chite Pati.
Sundara Kandam has 2,884 slokas. This is going to be a long journey. So those of you who have done Sankalpam to be there with us in this journey, continue with that Sankalpam. I will also pray to the Divine Lord along with his entire retinue that may he keep us in good health and cheer and make us relish this entire journey. That is the prayer from my end to the Lord through my gurus. It is important that there be no break in listening to this as far as possible. See, if at all you miss some sessions, the request is to go through those sessions, right? So that I am protected as the teacher. I am supposed to ensure this as per Sampradayam that there is no discontinuity. Okay, that's a request from my end. Okay, it protects everybody. So that is also a reason. So in the last chapter, we have seen Kishkinda Kandam, last shlokam, we have seen how Hanuman essentially describes who he is in all reality and actually takes the majestic form, and he is now ready to take the leap, a leap of faith as well as the real leap up in the sky. Tataha means then. Ravana Nitayaha. What I'll do is, because there are so many slokas, I may not be able to give you word by word meaning. Where required, we will do it. Otherwise, I will just skim over the meaning of that sloka or set of slokas, so that at least if we cover 20 slokas in a session, then even then it will take 144 weeks, isn't it? Which is 2 years. So please bear with me. There is no other option. Ravana Nitayaha Sitaya Satrukarshanaha. So Lord Hanuman, he is headed in the direction of Sita Mata, and she has been led by or actually kidnapped Ravana Nitayaha by Ravana. Sitaya Shatrukarshanaha. Shatrukarshanaha means one who can vanquish any kind of enemies. And in this context, we should remember that we all have friends and enemies in our life. So in Sanskrit, you can do a splitting of this slokam like Tataha Shatrukarshanaha Ravana Nitayaha Sitayaha Padamanveshtum Iyesha is one way of splitting this sentence. Then the vanquisher of enemies wanted to know where Sita is. Okay, that's a generic description of Hanuman. But if I were to think of my guru and who Hanuman himself was, he would be the enemy. Sitaya Shatrukarshana. He will not be the enemy for anybody and everybody at random, but anybody who is an enemy of Sita, he will vanquish them. So in our life also, we will encounter dharma and adharma. We can form enemies with anybody, but ideally, we should choose our enemies. So those who are not in favor of dharma, they are our enemies. And before we go outside our body, there are so many within our body, isn't it? So we should know those enemies first. Aru Chatrulanu. That is the song by Tyagaraja, isn't it? Vadamuchesi, etc. Purvajita Papamanu, etc. Right? So that's the first Antashatrus we should fight against. But here, of course, Ravana is a Shatru of Sita, and Hanuman can vanquish such enemies. That is how probably we should interpret this. Padamanveshtum Charana Charite Pathi Charanargal. There is a set of celestial people. Their job is to roam around or fly in the sky. They are called Charanas. So we live in a world where Pratyaksham Pramanam, what we see is what we believe in, right? Unfortunately, we have lost the ability to see things beyond our naked eye. Okay, I am ignoring what you can see through the electron microscopes and the latest generation of all types of microscopes, isn't it? But there is a true microscope inside our body. With the Guru's grace, it is possible to see things which the naked eye cannot see. And the Charanas are one set of such people who are celestials who fly up in the sky. And Hanuman, Iyesha, he resolved, that's the Sankalpam of the Acharyan, that I will definitely go and figure out Padam, Sitayaha Padam Anveshtam. So this is where the Rishis, they infuse the Tattvam as part of their Puranam or Itihasam, isn't it? So one way is to look at it as a peanuts. Peanuts, we break it open and we take the nut and we throw away the chilka, isn't it? It is not like that. It is like Kalpavriksham or coconut. What is the difference? Every part of the coconut tree is useful. Think of it, right? If you look at the bark of the tree or the leaves of the tree or eventually the fruit of the tree, right? The real coconut, even there, if you were to see the coconut, see that's why it's called Kalpavriksham, is that it provides us with all the Chaturvida Purushartham. Likewise, Srimad Ramayanam is like Veda Vedya Parepumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje, Veda Prachetasa. It is one of the Vedas itself. Therefore, what is the truth behind this? Sitayaha Padam Anveshtum, not Sita's place of living, not the GPS, but Padam. Our Padam Edena Paramapadam. She is actually an occupant of the supreme-most state. Although he is an Acharya Swarupan, if you were to consider Hanuman himself as a Jivatman, you are actually in a journey to see where Sita Mata is. That is another way to look at it. Dushkaram nishpratidvandam chikirshan karma vanaraha samudagra shiro grivo gavam patiriva babho. Right, he has resolved to cross over the ocean and figure out where Sita Mata is. And what type of an activity is he launching into? Dushkaram, it is something which is formidable. It cannot be imagined by ordinary people. Nishpratidvandvam, that which cannot be challenged. This is the hardest task that you can get. In any question paper we write, there will be an easy question and then there will be a very hard question. Nobody attempts the hard question, isn't it? Pass mark. Why should you worry about the hard things? So the hidden message is, life becomes enjoyable when you attempt hard things. That is the message here. Many times our mind is a blocker, isn't it? It says, don't do hard things. Go after the easy path. Then you won't get fruits of life that you can enjoy forever. That's the message here. Nishpratidvandvam chikirshan karma vanaraha, intending to do this particular act. How did he resemble? So the beauty of Valmiki, as we said, Sundara Kandam, Katha is itself Sundaram. The way he narrates it is Sundaram. You will find a lot of descriptive text here. So the Lord Hanuman, how did he look like? Samudagra Shiro Grivaha Gavam Patirivabhavo. In a pack of cows. Do you call it a pack of cows? What do you call it? What's the common herd of cows, isn't it? So he resembled Vrishabham. Okay. Vrishabham, its neck will stick out. isn't it? You can easily make out the ox among a herd of cows. That means Lord Hanuman, he had a complete retinue of Vanaras who are around him, isn't it? He stood out in that crowd as he resolved to do this extraordinary activity. Meaning, the very fact that you have chosen to answer the hard question itself lifts you up by one level. Okay, that is a meaning here. Unless you resolve to get there, there is no point. Problems is there for everybody, isn't it? We can always keep rambling about, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. No, then how do you rise up in life? These are the lessons, small lessons we get from Sundara Kandam. Atha vaidurya varneshu shadvaleshu mahabalaha dhira salila kalpeshu vichachara yatha sukam. So he, Lord Hanuman, he is a Mahabalaha. And what was he doing? Vaidurya varneshu shadvaleshu. So he was probably standing in a marshy land. Shadvalam is marshy land. And it had the color of Vaidurya Varnam. Vaiduryam, it's a tawny color, Tawny. Okay. And the color ulla or marshy land, he was doing his sancharam, vichachara. Yathasukam, he was happily roaming around. He is now getting ready to cross, first leap, not cross. Dhiraha. So there are two attributes of Hanuman here. Mahabalaha, Dhiraha. Right? He not only has physical strength, but he is also a Dhira Purusha. Dhira is not only one who has courage. We have already mentioned this. Dhihi, the word Dhi means intelligence. One who is very, very smart. He takes decisions which will only benefit himself and the humanity. Dhiraha salila kalpeshu. Salilam adinaka water nartham. So what is created by water is a marshy land. So that is the beauty of Sanskrit. We will enjoy Sanskrit also as we move along. Salila kalpeshu yathasukam vichachara. Charanam adinaka, to move around. So that's what Lord Hanuman was doing. So what we should do is, this is not a story. It is actually history. This really happened at one point of time. This particular story, as we call it, it really happened. So it is important for us to think of what would have happened. Imagine, let our imaginations fly high. இப்போ யாருக்கான ஒரு லட்டு கொடுத்தாக்கா చిన్న పిల్లలు ఏం చేస్తారంటే ఆ లడ్డులో ఉన్న జీడి పప్పులు తీయేస్తారు. They take away the mundiri parpu and then eat the mundiri parpu and leave the laddu aside. Then there is no fun. You should eat it along with laddu itself. Like that, Srimad Ramayanam has everything in it. Enjoy every aspect of it. You know, if you add a little bit of neyi or ghee, which is faith, it will even more increase the value of what you eat. Okay. Therefore, my request to you is, set aside the doubting Thomas. Okay. Sandeham garadu irukappadadu. அது ஏன்னா அது இல்லை, இருக்கிற வஸ்து உண்மை தானே. உளனில் உளன். Right? The Lord exists whether you believe it or not. So if you add that extra bit of faith, it will benefit you more. So therefore, let your faith and imagination fly high and go to that land of Mahendra Parvatam. Okay? அது பார்த்தா கண்ணு முடிந்து வீடியோ ஆஃப் பண்ணிட்டு போயிடுங்க. கேட்டு கொஞ்சம் நாள் கேளுங்க, அதுக்கப்புறம் இது பண்ணுங்க. So Dhiraha salila kalpeshu vichachara yatha sukam. Vijan vitrasayan dhiman urasa padapan haran mrigam cha subaho nighnan pravriddhaiva kesari. And the fact that he is Mahabalaha, he is so massive actually, and the fact that he was moving around, that itself caused some commotion. So who is the first being that will fly? I have already given the clue. Who is the first being that will get disturbed because of this thing is birds. Okay. The interesting word that Valmiki uses is Dvijan. Dvijam will think are, normally it is associated with the twice born, as they say, and it can be either Brahmanas, Kshatriyas or Vaishyas. All three Varnas, they are supposed to be born twice. once from your mother's womb. The second, when the Guru initiates you into Gayatri Mantra. That is when you are born. Therefore, you are called as Dvijaha. But here, the birds are called Dvijaha. Dvijaha means they are born twice. Right? How? First, they drop in the form of a egg. Right? And then they hibernate and then they break the egg and come out. So they are twice born. Dvijana Vitrasayan. So they were really scared. Santrasa அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவேன் ஆஸ்ரித சந்திராச அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம் இல்லையா ஸ்லோகத்துல திராசுனாக்கா அந்த ஒரு ஸ்கேர் ஒரு பயம் தீமான்னா ஹனுமான் நல்ல புத்தி இருக்கிறவர் உரசா பாதபான் ஹரன் with his feet he was actually uprooting trees. Padapaha is a tree. Okay. Mrigamsha subahun nighnanne. He was actually trampling on many animals. Mrigam. Pravurdha iva kesari. Pravurdha means he is growing in size. So as he is growing in size, these things are happening. He is carrying the birds. He is uprooting the trees there, as well as trampling on many animals. Okay. Neelalohitamanjishtha patravarnais sitasitaihi स्वभाव विहितैश्चित्रैः धातुभिः समलंकृतं कामरूपिभिराविष्टं अभीक्ष्णं सपरिच्छदैः यक्षकिन्नर गन्धर्वैः कल्पैश्च गन्धर्वैः देवकल्पैश्च पन्नगैः. This sloka talks about slowly the video camera is going from the birds and the trees he is uprooting to the Mahendragiri Parvatam. This sloka talks about the beauty of Mahendragiri. How is it described? Okay. Talk of poetry, Adikavi, right? Neela lohita manjishtha patravarnaihi. So the entire Mahendragiri Parvatam has so many multicolors like what you see here. Okay. Blue, red, yellow, and green. Neelam lohitam. Lohita manjishtha patravarnaihi. Patram is green. Sita sitaihi, white, black, both are also there. Sobhava vihitais chitraihi dhatubihi samalankritam. In their natural state, Sobhava vihitaihi chitraihi, different types of dhatubihi, it is rich in minerals. அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம். அப்படி சொன்னாலே இப்போ எலான் மஸ்கும் ஜெஃப் பீசாஸும் ஓடி போயிடுவாங்க. They will try to exploit Mother Nature. You want to make batteries, isn't it? So all the rich sources of minerals are there in Mahendra Parvatam. Samalankritam. They are all adorning the Mahendragiri. Kamarupivir avishtam. It also has certain beings embedded in it who can take form of their icha. Kamarupi means if I can take the form of a bird and fly away, right? I am called as a Kamarupi. Of course, I have to come back to this form. So such Siddha Purushas used to reside in Mahendragiri. Who are they? Yaksha, Kinnara, Gandharvaha. So these are the three types of people: Yakshas, Kinnaras, and Gandharvas. And they resembled Deva Kalpaischa. They resembled Devas or gods themselves, for the simple reason that even these three people had the siddhi of taking any form they want. And Nagas, Pannagaha Naka, Nagargal, that's a separate type of beings, probably half snake, half man type of form. So he has now described who all live there. Tishtan Kapivaras Tatra Rade Nagaiva Babhau. Kapivaraha, Lord Hanuman, he stood there. And how did he resemble now? Modalla he told he resembled the Vrishabha. Now he is saying Rade Nagaiva Babhau. So Hradanna center Nartham. You are standing in the center of all these types of people, Yaksha, Kinnara, Gandharvas, and so many animals, etc. And he resembled an elephant. Naga here means elephant. Sasuryaya Mahendraya Pavanaya Swayambhuve bhutebhyaschanjalim kritva chakara gamane matim. This is an important sloka. So he is now, imagine that Lord Hanuman, he is growing and he has seen who all exist in that mountain. Now he is reminding himself of the fact that he has to leap. So before that, see what Hanuman himself is doing. This is all a nirdeshanam for beings like us. Okay, he is the Lord. He can say, I am the Lord, I will fly. No. Saha Suryaya Mahendraya Pavanaya Swayambhuve Bhutebhyacha Anjalim Kritva. He prayed. என்னையா இது கியாத ஸ்ரீராமதூத பவன தனுபவன் நம்ம ஆஞ்சநேயர்ஸ்னா அவரே யாரையோ போய் வென்றாரே அப்படின்னா அது கிடையாது. So you have to wear two, இதை எடுத்துட்டு பார்க்கணும், இதை போட்டுட்டும் பார்க்கணும், isn't it? That is Hanuman. If you think of him as a human being, he is giving us the ideals. Okay, garvapadade, ahamkaram vendam. You are a human being. There are people who are holier than thou, and you should pray. You should pay your obeisance to them. Anjalim Badhva. Who are all they? Suryaya, the first person to grant us supreme health, and all that goes with it is Surya, Tejas Kudukaravar. Mahendraya. So here Suryaya also means the supreme Atman, right? Mahendraya is Indra. Okay, I have Tejas and all the Shaktis. But when I have to implement it in the field of Prakriti, I need to have a stable mind. And Mahendra is the overruler of mind. So he prays to Mahendra. Pavanaya, of course, I can't escape my father, isn't it? I have to think of my father, who is Pavana. And in this context, without his help, he can't fly also. And then Swayambhuve, he prays to Lord Brahma. What might be the reason? Right? Swayambhu or Brahma is the creator, isn't it, of this world. So Lord Hanuman knows that there may be different types of creatures he may encounter on the path. And without the knowledge of creation, you will not be in a position to overcome creation. Srishtini telsukoledante Srishtini datalemo. Avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amrutamashnute. We need to know what the creation is. Without the divine Lord of creation's blessings, can we know about creation? It's a leading question. Your answer has to be no, isn't it? So that's why he prays to Lord Brahma or Swayambhu Brahma. Without his knowledge, you cannot do anything. That's why we have already seen in every yagam, there is a specific place or sthanam for Brahma. Today we don't invite anybody in that form. Whoever is there, Okarranidam Brahma, Adina Akshada Putron. That's a very, very important post. Akshada and our Kalampidwar. Brahmangaruடைய the work that Brahma does, we have already seen, isn't it, in one of the earlier sessions. Rigvedam, Yajurvedam, Samavedam, Atharvana Vedam. In the Nalu Vedathiyam, Arindavar Brahma, he knows the entire Srishti, and therefore, without his knowledge, without his blessings, you can't do anything. Bhutebhyascha Anjalim Kritva. So he also prays to the attendants of Lord Shiva. Yeah. Bhutaganam solluvom. Chakara Gamane Matim. So immediately he resolved that Mati, avaruடைய புத்தியை எதில செலுத்தினார்? Gamane Matim Chakara. He immediately knew, okay, I prayed to you all. Now let me focus on leaping from here. So some of you may be wondering, Valmiki is a Vaishnava. He has forgotten Lord Shiva. இத்தனை பேரை ப்ரே பண்ணாரே, சிவனை ப்ரே பண்ணாரா அப்படின்னு கொஸ்டின் வரும் இல்லையா? He is a sectarian kavi. No. Anjaling prang mukha kurvanne pavanayatmayo naye tatohi vavurdhe gantum dakshino dakshinam disham. Anjaling prang mukha kurvanne, prang mukhana towards the direction of east, facing east. Any activity we start, right, we should turn ourselves in the direction of east. Why? Because that is the direction where the sun rises, right? And we need Surya Bhagavan's blessings for everything. That means if you are doing an activity in the evening, you should not turn towards the east. You should actually turn towards the west. But by tradition, we do Shubha Karyam only in the morning. That is the reason why east is prescribed. Okay. Ideally, anything that we do as a good work, we should start in the morning. And Anjalim Prangmukha Kurvanne Pavanaya Atmayone. So he again prays to his own father. Without our father's blessings, right? If they are around, go and immediately seek their blessings. If they are not, close your eyes and pay your obeisance to them. Without their blessings, Atmayoniye, you cannot do any activity in a proper manner. Tatohi vavurdhe gantum. Vavurdhe means he started to grow in size again. Dakshinam disham gantum. That means he wanted to go towards the south direction. So from Mahendragiri, he is going towards the south direction. Who did this? He is not saying Mahabalaha. He is not saying Dhiraha. He is not saying Dhiman. Valmiki is saying it is Dakshinaha. So my mind says, with my Guru's eyes, Jnananjana Shalakaya, Dakshina is Lord Shiva himself. The popular meaning that is given in most lokas is Dakshina is one who is dexterous, one who is skillful. So I thought through this today morning. This is what came to my mind, that why he did not pray to Lord Shiva is he is Shiva himself. That is what this sloka says. Okay. So we know that Lord Hanuman is Rudra Avataram. This is the Sollada Solradungar Idida. Chappakunda Chappe Vishayalu Ee Matrame. My request to you is those who are curious to know, I am more than happy, but those who are curious to share this outside, please remember these sessions and my gurus who are the source of all of this. There is a nice system in the Western education where we cite or refer to prior research. That is when Vidyaki balam vastundi. Manam nerchukune Vidyaki eppudu balam vastundi? Only when we are kritagnya to the source from which we get this information. Otherwise, that vishayam will escape from us. So that's a sincere request from my end, that if you want to share this publicly, ideally we should refrain. Keep this for your own self improvements. But if a situation comes, then please do refer to my gurus. They are the source of this information. Tato hi avrde gantum dakshino dakshinam disham plavanga pravarai drishtaha plavane kritanischayah vavurdhe ramavrudyartam samudraiva parvasu. Plavanga pravarai drishtaha. Lord Hanuman is actually seen by all the great Plavanga Pravaraha, those who are monkeys, but the chieftains of monkeys like Angada, Jambavan, Sugriva, etc., Neela, and so on, right? Plavane Kritanischaya. He decided that I have to now start to fly. Vavurdhe Ramavrudyartam. He again expanded, enlarged in size. Edukkaga அப்படின்னாக்கா ராமவிருத்தியர்த்தம், ராமனுக்கு நல்லதாகணும். That is the thing, right? Sitaya Shatru Karshanaha Ramavrutyartam. So the goal of Hanuman is he's doing all this for the sake of Sita and Rama. If there is no Sita or Rama, there will not be any display of any of his great qualities. This is the Samam Bonam of Srimad Ramayanam. What Valmiki is teaching us is, may our minds and hearts and our bodies be aligned and tuned with the divine sankalpam of the Lord and his consort. Rama Vridhyartam Samudra Iva Parvasu. So here he is growing in size. Adukku kaviya or analogy, upamanam kudukona illaya. What is the upamanam he is giving? How did he enlarge in size? Samudra Iva Parvasu. So look at this. So of course, we can browbeat and say we were scientists several years ago. There's evidences, small evidences that keep coming here. Samudra iva parvasu. Parva means paksham, like Amavasya or Paurnami. On those 2 days, we see high tides, isn't it? Just like the tides rise high during Amavasya and Paurnami, like that Hanuman grew in size. Okay. Now, this is a physical analogy at one level with my guru's remembrance. What also strikes to me is that when we start our journey towards seeking the divine being, there is a form of happiness that emerges. And that is the Samudrathanuடைய Anandam Madri. The Alaygal actually represent the aspect of Anandam also. And you grow in size naturally when the Sankalpam is pure. That's what strikes to me. So there is an external analogy, at the same time an internal analogy as well. So I think I've reached the limit for today. We have covered 10 slokas, so I'll have to keep calibrating myself. But let's see. May the Lord Hanuman give the Plavangama state that we can fly through many slokas in a session. Just a small request. There are 2 things. One is Sundar Mama shared that there are going to be some special lectures. Those of you who are interested, you can of course join those sessions by Mullevasal Shastrigal. He's addressing on a couple of interesting topics. And the other one is those of you who are based in London, we know that there is going to be a beautiful and very attractive function. We should make it attractive internally too, which is Radha Madhava Kalyanam. So those of you who are interested, try to participate in it by Tanu, Manu, Dhana, all 3, right? That is another announcement or message that we wanted to give. I am pretty sure that it has become viral, that you know what the details of the function are. So that's the other announcement we wanted to make. So with that, we'll conclude our session today. Narayana.
Charanam Bhuja Nirbhara Bhakta Guru Charanam Bhuja Nirbhara Bhakta Samsara Chiradhava Mukta Guru Charana Puja Krishna Krishna Sendriya Manasa Niyamadevam Drakshasi Nija Hridayasam Devam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Murate.
Good morning. வந்துட்டேன் ஷூ போட்டு வந்துறேன் உள்ள வாங்க குளிர போகுது
வாசா மனசா இந்திரியைர்வா புத்யா ஆத்மனாவா பிரகிருதே ஸ்வபாவாத் கரோமி யத்யத் சகலம் பரஸ்மை ஸ்ரீமன்னாராயணாயேதி சமர்ப்பயாமி சர்வம் ஸ்ரீ ராமச்சந்திரார்ப்பணமஸ்து. Have a great day and week ahead.
Namaskaram. Thank you.
నమస్కారం